Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Unraveling the Darkness podcast. A little bit late tonight, but we have our guest on, Dave Wells. He goes by Dave Adomus, and he is a psychic medium and paranormal investigator. So we're going to be chatting with him in just a moment. And good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Aaron. How we doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Battling the rain and the fog.
Oh, yes. It has been rainy. I was like, man, I should have thrown some grass seed before the weekend.
Right?
And I did that tonight.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's supposed to rain the rest of the week, I think. So you're probably good.
yeah, let it get in there and start growing in a
Yep.
spot that we need. So,
Yeah, I was a little worried about how our summer was going to look with forest fires and, the wildfires and stuff, but, hopefully we get enough where, Vitavu and Pole Mountain, all that doesn't go up.
yeah, the didn't quite have the snow this year. It was more
Yep.
cold than snow. Of course, everyone heard us talking about that cold all winter.
All winter.
Um, so, yeah, it's pretty nice to get some moisture. And I did see we went to Fort Collins on Sunday, and like the lakes are getting a little higher. And so, yeah, I don't
Good.
know about Lake Loveland. That one was really, really, really low when we went by. But
Yeah, I looked it up. They had actually drained it for dredging or whatever to
oh,
how they refinish the bottom. So luckily
okay,
that wasn't due to drought.
right, cool.
Yeah, I just looked that up the other day. As a matter of fact, I was curious. So,
Nice. All right. Well, let's get Dave in and we'll get going.
all right.
Dave, how are you tonight?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Good. Thanks for coming on tonight, Dave.
Well, I'm here in Cincinnati, and the weather's cold and wet.
So
Sounds
pretty
about
much the
like
same.
here. Yeah, I think it's
Yep.
across the U.S. right now. Everyone's getting hammered.
You said you poured some concrete today
Yeah, I poured about 3 yards. Did a patio.
with it like that and rainy.
It was just misting this morning, so we were able. I've got my 30-year-old son working with me, and he's Superman. So
Nice. Get it done quick.
yeah,
There you go. Nice. Well, we're going to talk paranormal tonight, so hope you're ready.
excellent.
Nice. What yeah, you're a medium, psychic medium and a paranormal investigator. What got you into investigations? Was it being a medium and realizing that young or something?
Well, my mother passed away when I was 6 years old. Okay, and she was a witch. Okay, and apparently pretty famous because I still have people coming on Facebook and asking me about her. But it was after she passed away. My sister and we were really desperate to contact our mother. I'm an orphan. My father died when I was 18, but so at the time, my sister and we started getting into fortune telling cards and things like this. When I was a kid, I was the weird kid, but now that I'm grown up, people seem to like me. I do a lot of psychic festivals all over the country and in Canada.
So when did you really first realize that you had psychic abilities? And kind of what was that like capstone moment for you? You were like, wow, I do have something special.
I never looked at it like that. I just always thought it was everybody. I'm a firm believer that everyone has psychic abilities. Everyone has gifts. It's like any other muscle in the human body. You've got to work it out to make it stronger. But the first time I ever had a connection with spirit was at my mother's funeral. I was 6 years old, and we were waiting in the back to go down and to view the body. And I didn't want to go. My father, he tried to bribe me with money, candy, toys. I said no. He threatened to spank me, and I said no. And I sat there. And so they all went down to the viewing, and the music started and all that bull crap. And then a few minutes later, I came walking out, my father said, "Oh, I'm so glad that you came down to say goodbye to your mother." And my sister said, "That's great." She said, "What happened?" And I said, "Well, Mom came to me and told me to go there and do this. It would be something to help everyone, you know." And it seems like ever since that point, I've always been searching, been looking for different things. I've always been a believer in amazing things. I believe, many things, but I think there's more to this life, to this existence we're in. So I really felt that that kind of wakened me up or opened me. I've always had gifts. I've always been able to. I have a great communication with animals. I can pet wild animals. I go to people's houses and their animals come and lay at my feet. And you know, I don't know if you can tell, but I've got many animals. I got a couple dogs and like 5 cats. I've got the Maine Coons, and I've got we just got a Bully XL puppy, and I have a really way with animals. I've always had that, but I've always been able to read people. We go to stores, and people always start want to tell me their troubles or what's happening or things like this. And okay, I work a lot for a bed and breakfast company, and they sent me to do these steps for this lady's house that was renting a home from them. And she was probably 88 years old, and she came out and offered me a Diet Coke, and I hate Diet Coke, okay? But I could tell that she wanted to talk. So we sat down on the bench, and she started telling me about her husband that just passed. We talked for a long few minutes, and I kind of gave her a little closure. You know what I mean? And it really, I think that's what I've always been, who I've always been. I've always helped people, and it just seems like people seem to open up to me, especially when they meet me in person.
You muted, Aaron.
Well, just recently, I was doing the world's biggest psychic festival. It's the world's biggest, and it's in the Cincinnati area. It's called the Body, Mind, and Spirit Festival.
Okay.
And one of the things I'll do is show there. And just recently, I did 2 shows, first time ever. But I did a show, and I had like 158 people, standing room only. Okay, they had to bring the security guards in there to kind of keep everybody down. And I'm like, wow, this is really great. So I start reading everybody in the room. That's the thing I tell you. I'm going to read everybody in this room. So I'm going down the line. I'm reading people. I look at the security guard. She got her back to me. I look at her, and I said, somebody loves you. Somebody really loves you. She turns around, holds up her hand. She's got a diamond engagement ring on her hand. She goes, he just asked me to get married. And everybody looks at me, and my wife looks at me, and they all start clapping. And it's like I get in the zone. I can't explain it, but I get in that zone, and it's like, I don't know, but I can read people. I can go to a store and read cashiers. I've always been like this. I feel that maybe it was with a trauma when my mother died that kind of set me off on my path. You know what I mean? I feel that trauma seems to open people's eyes.
Yeah.
So when you say you read someone and you looked at the security guard and said someone really loves you, how did that come across to you to know that? Was it a thought in your head or just a gut feeling? What does that feel like?
For me, I read energy. Okay, I can look at people. I can see if they're happy or they're sad. That's the empath in me. But I can also see, like, if a woman's pregnant, and I can tell if they have a baby. And I've gone to strangers and say, hey, you're having a little baby boy, aren't you? And they'll be like, how'd you know? I just found out. I can't explain it. I guess it has to do with colors, on their body. But with most people, though, I don't know. It's kind of different. See, a lot of people, okay, like channelers. I don't know if you've ever heard of people that channel spirits and stuff. I would never do that. Okay. I was told I would never give up my free will to a spirit. Okay. I mean, what is the one thing that a spirit wants is life. So we're not playing that game. When I talk to anybody, I always go through my guardian angels. Everyone has guardian angels, you, me. And they're assigned to us at birth. Like when you get that little poke in your side when you're about to make a bad decision, or maybe that little voice in your head, that's them. So always listen to them.
That's great advice to always listen to them, because a lot of times, someone does get that and they just don't know what it is,
Or they ignore it.
Right. So hearing something like this, where it's like everyone has a guardian angel or spirit guide, it's great that that you're out there also letting people know that. Um, w- what's the most surprising thing that you have told someone, you think?
Well, here's something that I have a lot of arguments with a lot of other psychics. Okay. I feel we are not here to change the future. Okay. Like if I've seen people, and I call it death. Okay, it's like a blackness on them. All right, and a lot of people say, "Oh, like Final Warning, the movie. Don't take that truck or don't drive here." We are not here to change the future. We're here to give a little insight, maybe a little closure. And so I feel that probably the worst thing I've ever had happen, or maybe the best thing. I told an English lady in England, I didn't even know her on Facebook. And I told her, I said, lock your door tonight. I said, I'm really scared. You're nearing a death door. She says, what? And then the next day she said, somebody tried to break into her house.
Wow.
So, there's, like I say, I've had a lot of psychic and I've had a lot of paranormal adventures, or I guess experiences. Again, I don't know. It seems like, what would the word be? It's like my light attracts a lot of these crazy things that happen in my life. I don't know. I tell my wife, I said, I'm just a magnet.
And
It
that's one
sounds
thing
like
I
that.
was going to ask was, once you kind of start, doing these readings, did that seem to kind of open the floodgates? I hear that some people, once they start, noticing these spirits or, developing their abilities, that spirits seem to sense they can come to them.
I don't know. Really, I've never really had to develop it. It seems like it's always been the same for me. But I'm gonna tell you what. When I go to an ER, emergency room, I have to do a double take a lot of times to make sure that they're real people. I went out with a lady when my wife and I were separated. I went out with the lady, and the first date she took me to the cemetery to meet her husband and her son. I'm like, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah, that would be a bit intense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. This is the last place I want to be right now.
First date, I was like, this is crazy.
Oh, so on the paranormal side, are you out there doing investigations?
Well, we usually do about 3 or 4 investigations a year, and I live in a haunted house, but we usually do 3 or 4 investigations. We do a lot of traveling. My wife and I, we're getting towards the closer and closer to retirement, so we're trying to do as much travel as we can because we love to travel. But we try to do 3 or 4 places. But I live really close to some of the most haunted places around. I mean, Bobby Mackey's, they just tore it down. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Bobby Mackey's,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we're friends with Bobby, and I'm like 5 minutes away from the bar, so I've been there a million times. He's a family friend, and we go there. We used to go there a lot. We're like an hour from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the Mothman is. We've been there several times. We're like 2 hours from Waverly Hills, and I'm about 45 minutes from the Great Serpent Mountain. I don't know if y'all ever heard of that place.
Yep, sure have.
And everybody's like, "Well, what's haunted about that?" When you go there, the Native American spirit, the energy is just overwhelming.
Do you find, speaking of that, like, do you find different spirits being like that? Like Native American spirits maybe being a little more prominent when you're contacting, or they're contacting you. I don't know who contacts who, I guess.
Well, one of my guardian angels, one of my spirit guides is a Native American. Okay, he doesn't say much. I have 2 of them. I have an Egyptian and a Native American. He just stands there, but he's always giving me wisdom. But my Egyptian, he just talks and talks and talks. When you get that little buzz in your ear sometimes, that's your guardian angels trying to tell you something. But I don't know. But like I say, I do a lot of festivals and fairs all over the world, all over the country, and sometimes in Canada. But I do a Native American festival there at the Great Serpent Mountain every year, and it is just loving. I mean, I'm Cherokee, but the Native American culture seems like they're very acceptable. They're very I don't know. They treat me really good.
Nice. When you're doing investigations, are you tapped in with your spirit guides or your guardian angels during an investigation to see what's going on at a location?
Well, I like to usually just go in there blind and then just see what I get. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they'll do research, which is good. No problem there. I knew a guy who loved that. But I like to just go in there and get that, I don't know, that virgin feeling, like what's going on here? Usually, to be honest, again, I got all kinds of gifts. I'm not just one kind of psychic. I have, many gifts. I'm sensitive. I hear things. I see things. I feel things. Like the last time we went to this haunted house in Charleston, and I immediately went and sat in this chair, and the lady says, that was the lady of the house who passed his chair. I said, I know, and just little things like that. But I myself, we live in an 1860 haunted house. Okay. It was part of the Underground Railroad here in Cincinnati. Me and my wife, just me and my wife. So we got a 15-room farmhouse, and we never use all the rooms. So we got the upstairs closed off, and the downstairs has tunnels that lead all the way to the river. Okay. So but our dream, our idea is to turn this into a haunted bed and breakfast next year.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, we've been buying all kinds of period pieces. We bought 2 hurricane lamps and a portrait from I'm going to say 1859, and we bought all these antiques we're going to put in there so we can do it. It's got its own separate entrance. If y'all have y'all ever been to Cincinnati?
No, sir. I haven't, no.
It's a good city. I mean, I like to travel and I like a lot of places, but Cincinnati, we got low crime, low homelessness. There's lots to see, and the food's amazing. The people are good. But I don't know. That's our dream. Me and the wife, like I say, we're about 2 years out from retirement. So that's what we want to do is we want to start a bed and breakfast, a haunted bed and breakfast.
That's a great retirement plan.
Heck yeah. I'd kill to do something like that.
Right.
Well, here at the house, lights come on, the faucets turn on and off. My Aunt Alice died here 2 years ago, but the faucets would turn off. We used to yell at her to turn off the water faucets. And we'll be sitting here and I'll be doing a live. I do a lot of lives where I read people like on Facebook and stuff. And all of a sudden orbs will go past me behind me and stuff. And, it just, then the faucets will come on, the lights will come on. I'll say, uh-oh, everybody, it's Alice.
Yeah, so that's something to look out for. If anybody happens to see anything on Dave's screen, throw it up in the comments so we can acknowledge it and talk to him about it.
Yeah. When you learned about having this ability, how did that I'm trying to come up with the correct words. Was it overwhelming, or did you figure it out pretty quick?
I figured it out pretty quick. To be honest, as a child, I would always make the right decision. You know what I mean? When I took tests and stuff, I would always, I get pretty good grades, but it seemed like I wouldn't study for them, and I'd know them. And I always tell people, I'm just a messenger. It's always been my guardian angels. I've always listened to them. I've always been a big fan of grounding. I get out in nature as much as possible. I love it. We camp 20 times a year. But and I also do a lot of meditation. I've always meditated. Meditation is the key. It's going to give you focus and clarity. People think if they meditate one time, they're healed. I've been meditating since I was 6 years old, and I still haven't got it figured. But I'll tell you what, gives you that energy, and it allows you to. That's how I really met, and I guess that sweet spot I call it, where I met and communicated with my guys, my angels. After that, it was just all easy. But like I said, growing up, I was that kid who always made that right choice, that right decision every time. Pick this. Oh, that one. Oh, you're right. Okay, what about this? That one. And I don't know. I guess it seems natural. It seems normal and natural to me. Growing up as a kid, my father was an engineer. He worked for General Electric, and one of his best friends was Werner von Braun, the rocket scientist. Huh? And my father and him used to go hunting all the time. But I mean, sitting at the kitchen table, table talk was always UFOs, Bigfoot, psychic, everything. And it always left an environment for, I guess, just anything, magic, amazement. And he always led us and told us, believe, keep believing, don't let anybody dim your light. That was one of my dad's things.
The one thing I caught out of there was when you were a kid taking tests and stuff. Jason, I think you probably need to open up and Like,
I really do. Yes.
let them read your stuff that you have to test for here in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and maybe they can help you out.
If they could help me study, that would be amazing.
What kind of degree are you getting?
Computer forensics.
Ooh, fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good time. I've been working in InfoSec for a while now, so it's always, you know, new certifications and stuff like that. So, but I'm not a good test taker, so I always stress myself out before I take them. So this seems to be part of the ritual nowadays.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, thank you. So, Dave, I do have a question for you about guardian angels. So, when you say guardian angel or spirit guide, I think everyone kind of pictures, you know, that angelic figure, right? You know, floating above you, got the halo, they got the wings. But from what you're saying, you've got a Native American and a Egyptian spirit guide. So, I guess number one, are these not angelic entities, but you know, spirits that were kind of delegated from, you know, we'll just say beyond to perform that duty? Or
Well, okay. Well, I'm a big believer in the creator, the father, whatever you want to look. It doesn't matter if you call him God, if he doesn't call him Jesus, call him Muhammad, Confucius, Buddha, whoever. I believe that all roads lead to the light, you know? And I mean, I've read people that have angelic guardian angels, okay? They're out there, okay? But to be honest, I'm a firm believer in reincarnation. Okay. Each one of us, I believe, has had many past lives and many future lives. And the past life thing kind of explains why you're good at some things and how you have that deja vu feeling sometimes when you go places, but you just kind of know things, you know? Because I think that each life you go through, it teaches you life lessons. And these lessons you bring from one life to another. And each step gets you closer to the light. So, but on the angelic things, I've read people that have like, you know, like Archangel Michael as their guardian angel. Now, I don't want to say lucky because I like mine, but I feel that it just to those who need. I needed in this life a spirit guide, a guardian angel who is very knowledgeable. Amon, my Egyptian, he talks and talks and talks, and he's so full of bullcrap. But you know what I mean? He's always there for me, and he always talks. Now the other one, he doesn't say anything, but you know he's there. I feel his presence. You know what I mean? It always keeps me warm, and I feel safe. You know what I'm saying? So this allows me to do the things that I have to do. But again, everybody's different. I've you know, a lot of people. I've even seen people have relatives as spirit angels. I believe it's who and what you need at the time. Again, I don't know. I can't even figure out why he does things. You know, I see things as yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and to the creator, it's just one big picture. So you know, but here's something. All right, here's a belief of mine you might like. All right, I don't believe that death is an end. Okay, I believe that life and death are just two rooms in my Father's house. All right, when we're in one room, sometimes we can look into the next. You know. And sometimes when there's a second one, you can look back into this one. That explains a lot of the ghost sightings or the, you know what I mean? And it's just one of the ways I like to look at it because I really don't. I think that, again, I think we have many lives, and I think that we're just all learning and growing. That's what it's all about.
When you're doing a reading for someone, does the person that they're the spirit that is talking to you for them, are they communicating with you or through your guide?
I always go through my guide. I was told by a Roma woman once that I should never let a spirit take control of my body. Okay. She said that would be bad. And she gave me a pocket full of black tourmaline. So I always go through my guides. They're my bodyguards. They're my bouncers. You know what I mean? Okay. You got to talk to them. You don't get to me. Gotcha. But I don't know. It just depends. Sometimes, I mean, here in my house, again, it's an old house, but you know, we got ghosts downstairs throwing light bulbs at me. I got ghosts on the railing. They've had pictures in my house from 1930s where they got pictures of this ghost in my house. But I found that I've got a lot of protections up, right? But you know, to stop spirits or entities or bad things from coming in my house or whatever, right? But But one time I had a spirit force its way through my boundaries, and it was burning. And I was like, "What? Either you're very ballsy or you're very desperate." I never did find out what that was about, but it was very unsettling.
Yeah. So Gina, my wife, is kind of sensitive, and we can, when we're on investigations, like she'll start, giving us answers to questions and tell us, "This is what I'm hearing." She hears it as a voice in her head, and usually it goes right along with what I usually do some research before we go in, but I don't let anyone really know until we're either in the middle of the investigation or afterwards. I like to kind of have an idea of what we're going into. Um, but we've got some places. There's an old bank in Bisbee, Arizona, and now it's a flea market. And when we walk in there, she's like, "It is still a bank. Like there's people doing transactions, there's all this kind of stuff." And so it's a separate timeline almost. But when we go into like a flea market here in Cheyenne, there's one that she won't go into anymore. She's like, she tells me it's like they know that she can communicate with them and they're just bombarding her. Do you ever have that where it's like there's so many just coming?
Well, that's what I was saying about the ERs. They see your light; they're like moths attracted to it. And I mean, I go into an ER, and I mean, I've got 8 or 9 of them, and everybody's like, "Oh, do they look like zombies?" No, they look like they did it their very best. You know what I mean? People present to me as their healthiest, most vital. But I don't know. I found that it just depends on a lot of spirits. I feel that there's like several different stages or different things. Like some spirits don't even know they passed. They're confused. They don't believe it. Some spirits, they feel that they got things left to finish. They got to do this. They got to stay here for this. So I don't know. It really depends. But I found that sometimes, like I say, when I go to certain places, I have to double check myself. I have to double check. But all right, let me tell you this great story. All right, you're talking about that your life in the old bank, right, or whatever. Right. Okay, so I'm with my daughter. She's a school teacher, and her husband, and we go to a festival. We used to go to a lot of festivals all over the country. It's one of our things we love to do as a family. But so it's me, him, and her, and this is maybe 10, 15 years ago, before GPS and the phones like they were. And he had this thing called a TomTom. I don't know if you guys ever remember those.
Oh, yeah, I remember the TomTom.
So the road was closed, so we had to take an alternative, a back road. And it was up north by Youngstown, Ohio, probably about 3 or 4 hours from where I'm at. So we have to go off-roading, right? So we left after work, and it's like maybe 5 o'clock, just getting dusky, And we're like, "Oh man, we're getting hungry," and we see a restaurant, and we're like, "Oh my gosh!" So we pull in this restaurant. It's like, I don't know, like a night, and it looks like a 1950s or 60s restaurant. You know what I mean? And there's all kinds of old hot rods out in the parking lot, and we're like, "Wow, what's going on here? A car show?" So we pull in, we go in, and everybody's dressed like Steak and Shake, but on steroids. Okay, they got the hat, they got the outfits, and they're wearing white and red striped shirts, and we're the only people in there, and they are just all over us. I mean, they're like the waitresses are all like, "You have anything to drink?" Blah 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 blah, and all this on and on, right? So and then the manager came out and he says, "I'm going to comp your meal. This is all on the house." And I'm like, man, I had chickens and dumplings, and my daughter had chicken fried steak, and we're just, wow, this is fantastic. So my son-in-law, he says, "I'm going to put this restaurant in the TomTom so we can stop on the way back after the festival." Because when you camp out for 3 days, when you coming back, you're pretty hungry and grummy, right?
Yep.
But so he puts it in the TomTom, and we leave, and we left like a $20 tip, and just seen the lady pick up the $20 bill and look at it. She was like, and I was like, "We just got it off the tree, nothing about it, right?" So we go to the festival. We saw, I think, what is that band? I think Rob Zombie was there, and there was a couple other bands like that. My daughter loved all these, so we went and saw them. Had a great time, swam. Nelson Ledges is a great place to go if y'all are in Northern Ohio, but we swam, we camped. So on the way back, we're like, "Oh, we're going to stop at that restaurant again, So we followed the TomTom to the letter. right? And we pull off, and this restaurant looks like it hasn't been, it's abandoned. It looks like it's not been open for 20 years. There's dust this thick on the windows. There's old rusted cars in the parking lot. And I'm like, this is not the same place. And I'm arguing with my son-in-law, and he says, well, the Tom says it is. So I just go up the window and I look in, and it's exactly like it was, but it's all full of dust. The little kids on bicycles come in and they said, what are you doing? And we said, well, what happened to the restaurant was here? And that kid says, that restaurant hasn't been open, since I've been alive. And the kid was like 10 or 12. And it was like, wow. So, you know what I mean? So we get back in the vehicle, and my son-in-law says, he's a doctor. So he's like, well, I think that I must have made a mistake when I put in acting. And I'm like, it looked exactly like it did when we left, So, like you say, kind of that overlapping of realities, that overlapping of time, I don't know, but I'll tell you what, that's some good chicken and dumplings.
Yeah, I remember hearing a story. I think it was New York City where that happened. Somebody they were observing like a UAP UFO over the city. And then they stopped at a restaurant, got something to eat, came back like a week later, and the restaurant was burned down. And they asked a transient in the area, what happened to the restaurant? And the guy said, oh yeah, that was like 20 years ago, it burned down. And they had just had a meal in there like a week prior. So yeah, it's really strange. There's stories all over, especially old like Route 66, stories like that.
So is that where you guys are from? What towns y'all in?
We're in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Oh, I've never been to Wyoming, but
just a good old west town.
Oh, cool! Yeah, the most I've ever been west. I went to Las Vegas. I went to that Storm Area 51 festival about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, nice!
Right
and
on.
I had a great time. I loved that. I loved it. I've never been to the desert, so it was neat.
Yeah, that's different.
I was going to say a lot different than where you're at.
Yeah, I had planned to go to that, but I ended up not being able to get my vacation approved because I just started a job and all that. But yeah, I really wanted to get out for that Storm Area 51 thing.
Yeah, what I liked is the fact that if you ever watch any shows on it, the show I'm in the background shots like 6 or 8 different things, and we got I was with a lady and a friend, and we got interviewed by the AP. And it was, psychic medium. They were going to put it on the wire. And I was like, oh, heck yeah, this is going to be great. And then found out that she had a warrant, so she couldn't sign the release. So I got that. I was like, why didn't you tell me that before they interviewed us?
Right.
Right. Oh, geez. What's been you say you do some of these bigger places for investigations, paranormal investigation. What's been your favorite place?
I really liked the Ohio Reformatory. It was again. I went with my Aunt Alice. Okay, she's the one that passed away. She was a professional astrologer. She traveled the world. She did transcendental meditation. Remember that back in the 70s and 80s, that real big. And she lived in communes, and she was really a real free spirit. And she goes, "Let's go up and check out this jail." I was like, oh, "Okay, sure." And it was just the way the cold spots, but you know what I mean? You would go to one cell right there and it'd be cold. I mean, icy. Then you go to another one, it's normal. Then you go to another one, it's cold. And just all the different, I guess, realities, and then, the people in the beginning, they told you the little things, but then they just let you go off on your own, right? And they were like, well, this one, this guy shanked this guy, all this. I was like, kept looking at my little Aunt Alice. She's like 74 at the time. I was like, are you okay with all this? Because she was like digging it.
Yeah, they just had their Parapsychon, I think like a week and a half ago. And
yeah,
I think we're going to try to get out there next year for that.
I want to go to Waverly Hills. I've never been, but I've met the owners a couple times. They are super nice people. And so I want to go. So I'm trying to get a group up, but that's the one place I want to go.
Yeah, it looks like a really cool place too.
I know. All these cool places out east. Everything's like, 20+ hour drive for us.
So,
Yeah.
okay, you guys are in Wyoming. I don't really know a whole lot about Wyoming. But I tell you what, though, I know if you go into California, that place is super, super haunted.
Wyoming's the least populated state, and there's a reason, because it gets, minus 20 in the winters. We have a lot of people that try to move here from California, and it's like if they can make the first winter, then
probably do
they
all
may
right.
be okay,
Yep.
depending on what the second winter's like. But yeah, it's when you're here after a couple years, you get accustomed to it. As far as like California, yeah, I would like to go out there and do some of those old ghost towns, like those old gold mine towns.
I like to see Winchester House.
Oh, yes.
That's one that's always been on my list as well.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would be super cool for you if like you connected with Sarah Winchester and we're able to like confirm that why, I mean, everyone knows why she built the house and what was going on, or right? But it'd still be kind of cool, like if she explained some of the rooms or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. With me, okay, my connection with spirit, my guides, sometimes they'll talk, they'll whisper, and sometimes it depends on who it is. If they like their energy, they'll scream. But a lot of times they'll show me pictures. They'll go faster and slower. It just depends, So I always tell people, when they say, "Oh, why does this psychic say this and this psychic say this?" The way I look at that is each one of us sees a different piece, a different puzzle piece. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. We're all not right. We're all not wrong. But I don't know. I got a pretty good reputation. Like I say, I do pretty good. People seem to really like what I do. When I do festivals, I just love them. I like to get out with the people, meet the people. That's my favorite thing. I've always been a people person. My wife says I like to talk.
Yeah, I
can see
imagine it's kind of, with psychics, it's kind of like going to an art class, right? And it's like, all right, draw this plate of fruit that you see in front of you. And at the end, everyone's going to have a plate of fruit, but it's all going to, it's all going to look different, kind of skewed with their personal, artistic flair or whatever.
My plate of fruit would have somebody holding it, probably like the person's grandma.
Do aura fruit.
You did say that you see like a color with people. Is that what you're seeing? Is their aura, and then
Absolutely.
The different colors have different meanings to you, or
Well, I see people's auras. Okay, absolutely. It just depends. They always say the colors always mean something. Usually, I find that that's your moods. Okay. Now, if I saw somebody with a totally black aura, I think that they had some kind of illness or some kind of disease. Okay. And a lot of times when I'm in like a store line, waiting in line in a store, and I'll see somebody who'll have a black blob on, and I usually interpret this as death. All right. But I notice when I go downtown, especially the big city of Cincinnati, and I'll go down in the city part, I'll see these black blobs on buildings all the time. I don't really like them. I think they're attachments. I try and stay away. That's like when I ever do investigations, I always take precautions. I always get myself prepared. I don't know. I like to say I just enjoy it. I like the excitement of it. I like the just recently I was invited to a big Bigfoot thing. Okay, and I'm a big Bigfoot believer, but I've never seen Bigfoot. But a couple of times I've had experiences, and but I wasn't able to go. But the lady says you got to come to the next one, because they had two people from the Discovery Channel at this last one, and I thought that it was at a bed and breakfast. It sounded like a great time. But right now I'm just working too much.
Yeah, I hear you there. We were lucky enough to go to the Bigfoot Festival up in Estes Park, Colorado. Down in Estes Park, sorry. Yeah, end of April, and they had a couple of people from Expedition Bigfoot, the show on Discovery, and yeah, it was great being able to go, and they gave some really good presentations on what they do. Maria gave a presentation on, because she's a primatologist. So, she went over all the expeditions she does in the jungles looking for these different apes. And yeah, really, really cool.
It was so cool. Like, yeah, realizing that there's someone at her level that is out there trying to find this creature. Let's just call it a creature. That's been to the Amazon and found the smallest primate. Like, to see someone of her stature out there looking for a Bigfoot and she said it. She's like, there's scientists that every day are like, hey, we're glad that you're doing this. They wouldn't come out public and say it,
Yep.
but they're glad that someone is doing it.
Yeah, I think, there's so much land out there where these Bigfoots could exist. Are there lots of them? Probably not. You know what I mean? I think a lot of the stuff we've hunted to extinction or killed, and you know, but about 10 years ago, I went and stayed with the Inuit people up in I guess Canada, Banff, Canada, and I went up there and stayed with them for a year. Right, I studied with the shaman, and while I was there was this one time when the chief came to everybody and says, "You've got to start escorting the women to and from their cars." And I was like, "Why?" He says, "Because the wild man of the wood has been seen. Apparently, that's what they call the Bigfoot up there." And so we had to take every woman back and forth to the car because I guess they were worried about the women getting abducted.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Alaska and that Western Canada area, there's tons of sightings. There's they did a special on it a few years ago where there was this I think it was an Inuit fishing village that ended up, being abandoned because of the the activity going on, or regarding Bigfoot and all that. It was pretty interesting.
Wow. Jason is our resident Bigfoot
Love Bigfoot.
person. I am definitely more the paranormal side and the spirit side. And I have learned a lot. We started this in October, and I have learned a lot from Jason, our guest, about Bigfoot. And I've decided that I think there is something out there. And I think one of these times this summer, we're going to take a weekend and see what we can go find. And
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
there's a guy down in Estes that we know, and we're going to head down there with Bigfoot Kenny and see if we can get out there and see something.
Oh, that would be awesome. Like I say, he's out there. You know what I mean? When I was a child at the carnival one time, we saw the Minnesota Iceman. You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they say it now is fake and stuff, but I'll tell you what, for a 12-year-old kid, it looked real to me.
Was that like a sideshow thing? But
Yeah, it was supposed to be a Bigfoot. The guy shot. It was shot right through the eye. I mean, you could see where it blew its eye through, and they had him on a block of ice. And they charge you like 50 cents to see it. And I went in line about 6 times. Okay. And I just that was one of the things I was like, wow, I checked it out and I all over it and looked at it. And I don't know. Again, I've never really had a Bigfoot experience, but I'd like to one day.
right. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I'm trying to come up with questions. Jason, do you have another question?
Yeah. So Dave, regarding Bigfoot, what do you feel? Physical being, interdimensional, spiritual?
Well, my
Wild
daughter,
animal?
she graduated from college with a double degree in biology and zoology, and she worked at the zoo for 14 years. And she worked with the bonobos, which are like I guess chimpanzees.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she's not a believer. Okay, her husband's a doctor, so she's not. But she says she goes, I tell you what, she goes, there's just so much evidence that there's something out there. I believe it's a physical being. Okay, I think the reason we don't see it a lot is because it's up in the treetops, up in the trees. Usually when hunters go, they don't look up. You know what I mean? But I think that's how the Bigfoot, and it gets on the ground sometimes. That's how you see the tracks. But there's not as many as you think. There was a large population. That's what I believe. They're a physical creature. I think maybe the North American ape, maybe a relative or a descendant of Gigantopithecus. Because I don't know, it's just there's just too much evidence out there, too many people. You know what I mean? And everybody, there's been large groups of people seeing the thing, and and just it's been around for a long time. And when I stayed up there with the Native Americans or the First Nations people in Canada, they firmly believed in it. I mean, and those people were the most down to earth people you've ever met, and they firmly believed in this. And I was like, huh. I've never seen the chief act like that, So it was I don't know, but I'd like to have an adventure. I'd love to go camping somewhere and have the Bigfoot, bother me. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, they're depicted in rock art and pictographs. or petroglyphs. Yeah, I think they've been around a long, long time. And then you get into the, the story of the giants, out in Arizona and California. I was kind of going down that rabbit hole
Yeah, that
past couple days.
Lubbock, Texas, wasn't it, where they had a bunch of giants in a cave that the Indians burned and smothered and killed?
I think that was Arizona. Yep, but they sealed in these giants that were cannibalizing the tribes, and they told this researcher about it in the early 1900s. And he actually talked to one of the tribal leaders' daughters who had a necklace woven out of the red hair of these giants. And
Yeah.
She told him where the cave was, according to legend. And they went and uncovered this cave, and they found evidence of a big fire at the cave entrance, not just like a campfire, but fully engulfing. And then, extremely large handprints in the soot on the wall, from like 500 or 1,000 years, prior, that was still there because this cave was sealed up. Yeah.
Okay, we're really close to Michigan. My wife's family's from Michigan, so we go up there all the time. And that's where that Bigfoot thing was just recently. But that lady, she was telling me that they've had dogmen. You ever heard of the dogmen?
Oh, yeah, I know the dogman. Yeah.
And she was telling me that she feels, and she's very big in this community, she feels that the dogmen and the Bigfoot, I guess, are adversaries or maybe fight each other. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got, like in Wisconsin, the Beast of Bray Road. There we go. That's a tongue twister. Which is a really famous dogman story. We actually have a dogman story here in Cheyenne, that on the eastern part of town back in, the 90s, there were some kids out there riding four-wheelers and, taking their Jeeps and stuff back. This was before houses were built out there. So it was all just, kind of prairie, and multiple people saw this, large dog running on its hind legs across the prairie. And so that's kind of one of the urban legends here, which goes back, especially, Southwest, indigenous tribes, all have these skinwalker type legends, dogman type legends on top of Sasquatch. I definitely believe it's a possibility.
I don't know. Like say, she was telling me she's doing 4 of these bed and breakfasts up in Michigan, up in the Upper Peninsula, and she told me that she goes, you better bring something to protect yourself. She goes, the dogman's not like Bigfoot. She goes, Bigfoot kind of just doesn't really want to bother you. You know what I mean? More curious. She said, the dogman will get you. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking, I never heard I have to bring some protection on an investigation, but okay.
Yeah, dogman is all across the U.S. That's one I've always been curious in. I've got a buddy who loves the dogman mythos, and I've learned quite a bit from him about it. But I need to do more personal research, to dig in. I've always liked the Beast of Bray Road story. That's kind of the one.
Did you ever see that movie, The Beast of Bray Road?
Yeah.
Excellent movie.
The documentary? Yeah.
No, there's a B movie. It's really good. You should watch it.
Oh, no, I never saw the B movie. No.
It's a Beast of Bray Road. You got to watch it. It's really good, really well acted. You won't see the end come until it comes.
Cool. I'll check it out.
That's right.
Yeah, because I watched a documentary on it a few years ago at the Bigfoot Festival in Estes. A guy came by and was screening his documentary that he did, and he did a really good job with researching that. And he was working with a couple of the farmers up there in the area that had farms right along Bray Road, and yeah, it was cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Here in Cincinnati, we have our own little cryptid. It's called the Loveland Frogman.
Right? I know the Frogman. Yep.
And I was friends with one of the police officers that saw him in the 70s. Okay, I was a kid at the time, but he was always people were, I guess, making fun of him and embarrassing him and stuff, and giving him a lot of crap over it. But to his dying day, he always said that he saw the giant frog, a 4 or 5 feet frog, walking on its hind legs. And I've done some investigation or a little research on it. And they've had sightings all the way back to the 30s where they've seen these giant frogs. Back in the 30s, they said they had magic wands in their hands, and they dressed in clothes. And then, but I don't know. I always lived on the Little Miami River, so I've seen people say that they've seen him. But I never saw the giant frog, man.
Yeah, I've heard of that. We've got some cool legends out here. We've got a mummy was found in some mountains up by Casper, the San Pedro mummy they call it.
Was that the little bitty one?
Yep, little bitty one, and they say that it was an infant with hydrocephalus, with the water on the brain, which causes the misshapen skull. But then there was one I think found in Colorado too. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, these bodies that they found in the caves. I've always, it's only a few hours from us. That's one I've always wanted to go up and kind of explore around the mountains, but just never got around to it.
Oh, awesome. I just think that the thing about this is, I feel that there's more out there. I think that if they're saying that civilization started 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, but it seems like they keep going backwards. Like Göbekli Tepe. It's what 11 or 12,000 years ago, and that puts it right after the Great Flood. When either a meteor, an asteroid, or a pole shift or something happened that really changed the whole world around. Got rid of all the giant animals and the megafauna. And brought, I guess, I feel that we're the third race of men, the third stage. And I think the giants were left over from the last time. That's why we still had some. And, and that's like a lot of these buildings. See, I'm a stonemason by trade, right? So that's why I love the pyramids and I love all those ancient stuff like that. But in my backyard, I'm building a pyramid. All right. I told my wife it's a shed for the lawnmower. All right. But I've got granite left over from a school I did about 3 or 4 years ago. And then I got white limestone I did from a job last year. So I'm using the exact same, materials that the Egyptians used, granite with, a little bit of quartz in it and some white limestone. And on the top, I've got a 28-pound piece of quartz crystal that I mined myself in Arkansas.
Oh,
so I'm going to put that on the top for the capstone. And I got a little gold ring to go on top of that. So I don't know. Hopefully I'll be able to sit in there and chill, maybe just get away from everybody.
Yep.
Well, now that makes total sense about one of your guides being Egyptian.
Yeah.
Good point.
But it's so funny. Like I say, he makes it sound like it's so important, but I think he was just a servant in a temple. You know what I mean? But I tell you what, though, when the chips are down, though, get the moments where you're depressed or you've had some bad things happen, and it seems like he's really kind of boosted me up. You know what I mean? So I think he's full of a lot of awesome. But there's a reason that I was given these guides.
Yeah. And maybe that's what some other people, a lot of people don't realize, and maybe that's what's giving them that boost too. And they just need to tap into that.
When I do psychic festivals and fairs, especially the one here in Cincinnati, right? There's usually 1,000 vendors there, maybe 100 readers. And I've been doing this for 24 years. And but I'll walk around and the real people, the people, if y'all ever been to a psychic festival, stop it, dog. Sorry. At a psychic festival, it seems to me that everybody's got their little character. All right. You'll have the one guy with a turban and the jewel in there, and he's dressed like an Indian person. Then you'll have the guy from like the Amazon with the parka, the hoodie, and the hat and then the flute. And then there'll be like the voodoo lady, and there'll be like the gypsy lady. I'm not saying gypsy, the Roma lady. And it's just funny. And everybody's like, well, who are you dressed as? I said, hey,
me, man.
For me, I don't know. But it just seems like, but when I go around, walk around there, I can tell who's real. Cause like the real readers, in my opinion, the real people with real abilities, they'll stand up and they'll look at me or they'll come out and shake my hand and stuff. It's kind of like that knowing, you know what I mean? That I don't know. But I don't know.
Right. Like the ones that know. Yep. And then there's the ones that are just
they don't need the gimmicks, they don't need all the flash, to do what they do.
Yeah, I guess, but it doesn't bother me. Again, we all hang out afterwards. I met some really famous people. Like last year, John Edwards came to my booth and was talking to me, and I met the Teresa Caputo lady. I've done a couple festivals with her. It's just really nice meeting these other people, and you have this, I guess, connection with.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Dave, can people just follow you on Facebook, or do you have other social medias?
Yeah, right now I only do Facebook. I'm not very technological, y'all. I'm like I said, I'm a stonemason bricklayer by trade. So, Facebook's the only thing. I mean, for getting on this was hard for me, but I'm glad y'all helped me. Thanks.
We
But
got
yeah,
you.
just I run a group called Free and Paid Psychic Readings from Dave and Friends on Facebook, or they can message me. I do readings two ways. I do them by text on Messenger. That's a traditional reading where it's very detailed. It's very very informative. But I also do live video readings where it's just me and the person. It's private. It's very good, very reasonable. Like I say, I really do this to get rich. I don't see me ever getting rich, and this isn't my main source of income, so it's just kind of a side thing. But I really like helping people.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That is great. Dave, we've enjoyed talking to you this evening. We'll send everyone to your Facebook page, Dave Adomus, over on Facebook. And we hope to send some people your way, and maybe you can help someone out.
Great, thanks. Hey, what we ought to do one of these days, if y'all want, I can set it up where I can do readings right here, and we can do them for your people. I mean, boom, boom, boom. That's how I do my readings. And you know what I mean? If y'all ever want to do something like that, you really enjoy it.
Well, maybe we can we'll work something out with you. Maybe we can do a special
Yeah.
night, and that way we can announce it for a week or so.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
that'd be awesome.
That would be
All right.
super awesome.
Thank y'all. Have a good night.
You
Thanks,
too, Dave.
you
Thanks
too.
a lot for coming on.
Thanks.
That would be something phenomenal. Like,
Yep.
I think that would be really cool. I'd love to have him on and have him do readings for people.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
Yeah. Again, Jason and I say it every week, and then I say it every week again. We have some of the best guests.
Yep.
I think the way we do it, and we just chat, and we don't have any laid out questions, and it gives them a chance to get their story out. And I think a lot of times, they get cut off because people have these questions they want laid out, and they're just bam, 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 down a
Hammering.
question
Yep.
list. I'm searching for questions because I'm like, I don't have a
Yep.
question, or I don't know how to word it, to where it sounds.
You've just absorbed so much information. And that's one thing I like is that all the people that come on here, I think with this conversational nature, their passion really starts to come through. Like Dave, I mean, they just, he loves what he does and he loves talking about it, and we love hearing it. So,
Right. And that's how we started this up, hey, let's start this and let's just talk to people.
Yep.
So,
and then, I keep going on and on about synchronicity, Aaron. And yet again, we're in the planning stages of an event, and, we get someone like Dave on now, so kind of cool.
yeah. I shot you that message yesterday, and I think that's definitely one that we need to follow up with. And, it's something that hopefully we can have out there in September for everyone. We're working on it now and trying to figure out the logistics of it and how we're going to announce it and everything. So watch for that event. I really want to start. This is something I haven't even talked to the team about. So everyone's kind of getting this right now. I want to limit our events. We put these out there, and we have everyone come, and everyone enjoys it, and I enjoy putting it on and getting out there with everyone. But it doesn't give us that time to do what we like to do too, where we can get out and just investigate.
Yep.
We've run into having our events, which again, I love seeing everyone. I love doing the events for everyone. But as we film, we also need those investigations where it's just us and going back to what we started with.
Yep.
So I think it's something that I'm going to talk to you guys about, and we're gonna tone those back a little bit, and see where we need to be so that we're happy doing what we're doing, and all you guys are happy doing what we do too. Because I do like to see you. I like to show you what we do and how we do it.
Yep.
I love when we do an event and everyone comes in and they're asking questions and they're interactive. I have heard a ton of questions that I had never thought about.
Yep. Same here.
And that's the cool part of it. Like everyone looks at stuff different, right?
Yep.
So when we do these ghost hunting 101 classes for teens, like some of the best questions have come out of them. And I'm just like,
Absolutely. And I
you
love
know,
because, like,
Tim,
when it starts out, it'll be dead quiet, right? It's just us talking, and it's like, "Oh, man, I hope they get into this and they're not just sitting here bored," right? But
right.
it's just, kids kinda not knowing how to, they're just kinda taking it in, and then all of a sudden, it's like the floodgates open, and it's 100 questions coming at you and all these, theories while you're investigating, and it's awesome seeing, the passion from these, like, 16-year-old kids, on an investigation.
Yeah. So that's one we're going to keep around, the ghost hunting 101. Um, bring those young people into something they may enjoy or may make into a hobby, and enjoy it with people, just like we do, you know. I love getting together with you guys. You guys are no longer friends. You're all family. We've talked about that.
Yep.
When you're doing something like this, you have to trust the people that you're with. You're spending long hours in dark places. You don't know what can happen or what can be in there or who can be in there. Um, you got to trust your family.
Man, especially for me, it's during the Estes sessions. I really
Mhm.
have to trust who's there. I mean, I've got a freaking blindfold on, noise canceling headphones, sitting in an area where, normally if we're doing an Estes, it's pretty, we're getting some good activity already. Um,
Right. You
and it's
know,
already, draining, right? Psychically, or mentally. So yeah, for me, I gotta have the trust or yeah, there's no way I'd be able to do that.
one of the last places we investigated, we did a double Estes, but we did it on the separate floors, and
That
then
was
the
so
the
cool.
door slammed, and I'm like, I want to go see, but I'm not leaving Gina here under an Estes method on her own and
Yeah,
going
we'll
into a
just leave
different
you in a
room.
dark room and yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, something we're going to do. We're going to still offer those investigations and those cool places that we do. Hopefully, have a few more. But we're going to get back to what we like to do too. We've kind of stepped away from that a little bit, and
Well, I mean, these
that's where
events,
we need to be.
they're great, but they take up a lot of effort. They really do. I mean, it's, you got to plan it, advertising, all the stuff that goes in before, and then you got to get the place ready. I mean, it's a pretty big thing to put on some of these events, and
Right.
like
So
we've been trying this year, to get in some investigations that aren't filmed, and just kind of, like you said, kind of back to our roots and just investigate, to investigate.
yeah.
It's been great doing those this year. It really has.
Um, there are. Let me look right now. As of starting the podcast, there were 2 tickets left for the Nelson June 14th Nelson Museum investigation. That
And
is a
that's the
VIP.
VIP. Yep.
I'm looking right now, and there are 2 tickets left. So we have sold 6 of the 8. If you're watching and you know someone, tell them to get on it because it's not far away, and they don't want to miss out. The Nelson Museum, if you have not seen it, it's over on Paraflix. It's on their free side, so you can go in and watch that episode of Way Out West Paranormal for free. We also have it on YouTube. But if you'd like the paranormal, check out Paraflix, and they do have a free side.
Yep. Nelson Museum. It's an amazing location. So, I said that was our first episode that we did, and we've done one other event there.
Yep, this will
So
be our 3rd time in there. Second time we caught some phenomenal stuff. We're going to run it a little bit different this time, and it'll be like 2 smaller groups. And I mean, we're smaller than normal. I think we're going to split that and be 2 smaller groups.
yep.
And it's such a cool place. Even if you're in Cheyenne and you just want to go check it out, it's $5.
Yeah.
Gina's parents were in town for a graduation. I took her dad down there. Not only do you get the Nelson Museum of the West, but you can go over to the Military Memorial Museum. Um, you know, 27 years in the Army he was, and
I bet
gosh,
he
it was
loved it
cool
there.
to watch him
Yeah.
walk around that museum. Boy,
Yep.
we talked about it. I wish you could have came with us. And he was like a kid in a candy shop, and he's like, "Oh, this is what we wore." And Then we went to this, and I didn't like that, and I
Yeah.
didn't, and it was so awesome to watch him do that and talk about that stuff.
It was really hard
Um,
when we investigated there to not, like just stop and kind of look at all the displays, and, do the
That's
tourist thing. It's like, nope, we got to investigate.
that's the same side on that Museum of the West for me, because I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now I am an Old West junkie. Gunfighter era, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson. Um, you know, I'm looking at Dodge City, Kansas. Um, yeah, there's some cool places.
Yep.
I would love to get down to Lincoln, New Mexico, Billy the Kid area.
Yep.
We've talked about that one. So that's where we're at.
Yep. And I will say for the Nelson Museum, man, God, if you like antique firearms, he has an amazing collection there.
Yep. During our investigation, you get special access to 2 other rooms that aren't open to the public. So yeah, it's a cool place. Someone needs to snatch up those tickets because they're going to have a good time.
Yep.
So, and go to Dave Adomus over on Facebook and friend him. And then that page that he said, free and paid readings. And yeah, such a cool guy.
Yeah, and stay tuned because I think we'll get him on to do some readings for viewers. So I think that'll be really cool.
I think that'd be super awesome.
Yeah.
So, hey, everyone, thanks for watching tonight, and have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Unraveling the Darkness would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research and Twinkle Twinkle Little Store for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal and Unraveling the Darkness. You can catch all of our episodes of Unraveling the Darkness on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it might just be closer than you think.